Welcome to our annual Alumni Leaders on Campus Day. We're excited to bring this not on campus panel discussion to you virtually this year. This program is in collaboration between our Office of Alumni Relations and my colleagues at the College of Business. It's a chance for us to celebrate our alumni who are doing such great things in their respective facets of industry. We do have some amazing alumni here today to speak with you, and we're so grateful that they've taken time out of their very busy schedules to be here. I know that you'll find their experiences and stories inspiring, and I know that you're going to have questions, so when you do, please enter them into the Q&A section so we can get to as many of them as we can towards the end of the program. And before we get to that section, I'm going to ask the panel a few questions of my own. So alumni, again, thank you for being here. Can you please take a moment to introduce yourselves, share your major, the year you graduated, your current position, and a brief description of what you do?
Hi, everyone. I can go first. My name is.
Go ahead, Moira. You got it.
My name is Moira Callahan. I graduated in 2012 with an advertising and marketing communications degree from Johnson & Wales. I'm currently the media director of social activation at Essence, which is a WPP advertising agency. I currently work on the client Google and have for the last 4 years. So what my team and myself does is we oversee all paid social executions for Google and all the lines of business, from planning to execution to reporting, end to end. It's great to be here with all of you today.
Great to see you. Maybe I can list everyone in the order I see them on my camera to make it a little less confusing. I have Crystal at the top of my screen. So Crystal, maybe you can go next.
Hello, my name is Crystal Byers. I graduated in 2004 with my bachelor's degree in retail marketing and management, as well as an associate degree in fashion merchandising and an MBA in global business leadership with a concentration in marketing. I currently work for Samsonite, the luggage company. I am the merchandise planner, so I basically plan all of the sales that we're going to do for the different brands, such as Samsonite, American Tourister, Hartman, High Sierra, and Gregory. I also place all of the buys, so I work really closely with the merchandising team, and I calculate all of our buys and our imports, all of that fun stuff. I look forward to speaking with everybody later on.
Thank you, Crystal. Lawrence, are you ready to go?
I am. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lawrence Rock, graduate, class of 1996, international business, and so happy to be here with all of you today. Currently, I am the quality assurance and data integrity manager for Takeda Pharmaceuticals, based out of Boston, Massachusetts. In that role, I support an entire group called our U.S. Patient Services Division, which is responsible to, as I said, working directly with the patient. Because we're such a patient-focused company, we ensure that our patients are properly onboarded to our medication, benefits are verified, making sure the patients get proper training, and we assist them through their entire journey through these, basically through life-saving medication. So happy to be here. I'll leave this one note and I'll be happy to talk about it throughout the day. As a business student, don't limit yourselves. I'm constantly looking for folks to get into the pharmaceutical industry. It's not all about science. There's marketing, there's compliance, there's anywhere you can take your career. So consider pharma. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Lawrence. Next on my screen, I see Dylan.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. So my name is Dylan Zabawa. I graduated in 2017. I was a finance major. So I currently work at Citizens Bank in the financial planning and analysis group. supporting our unsecured lending business. So it's buy now, pay later. So if any of you are familiar with the Apple iPhone upgrade program, that's one of the loan portfolios that I support. And so we do forecasting, budgeting, ad hoc analysis, evaluate inorganic opportunities, all that fun stuff, investor relations, month-end reporting, all that jazz. So happy to be here, everyone.
That's exciting stuff. Thanks, Dylan. I have Elena up next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Elena. So I graduated in 2013 from Johnson & Wales with a strategic advertising degree. And I now currently work at a media advertising agency called MediaStorm, where I support AMC Networks and Duolingo as an associate media director. So I oversee strategy, account planning, account management, cross-channel across all different media channels, digital, social, broadcast, etc. So really excited to be here and talk to you guys about how much we took away from the advertising program to really benefit us in our careers. Very exciting.
I can't wait to hear that part. That's the most important thing we can share with our current students. Thanks, Elena. And then I see Toni getting ready to give us her background.
Hi, my name is Toni Cucino. I graduated in 2010 with a bachelor's in management. I am the People and Transformation Project Management partner over at IGT. And I actually work in our transformation management office in our People and Transformation department, which is actually our HR department. We call it People and Transformation. So what I do is I actually bring project management methodologies and best practices to people who do project management, who normally don't do projects. So I actually coach them how to do project management. And I actually bring change management as well. So we just coach people, and we also bring any new innovation to the whole department as well. Thank you, guys.
That's fantastic. We heard a lot of words that might sound like jargon while you're going through your career here at Johnson & Wales, and maybe while you're on internships, such as forecasting and strategy and project management and compliance.
Yes, I'll be happy to talk about all of that.
Yeah, like all of these words that these alumni shared, everyone that's listening, this is real stuff. So the stuff that you're hearing in the classroom, you're going to take it. You're going to take it into the workforce. I think someone just tried to message me. Is this another alum, Lori?
No, it's not, David. You're all set.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone for that. That was great background from everyone. And this is a great question that I know you'll all love to share with us the answer. It's tell us about your first job after graduation and how those led to other opportunities. And this is for everyone again, but since Moira was so kind to volunteer to go first last time, Moira, I'm going to ask you to go first again for this question. So again, it was tell us about your first job after graduation and how those led to other opportunities.
Definitely. So my first job after graduation, I actually got through LinkedIn. It was very local. I was actually in Pawtucket for those that are on the Providence campus. It was for a multicultural and diversity firm, which is actually, I feel like back when I first got that job, it's become such a focus, of course, in today's world. So I'm grateful for that experience. And actually, we worked with a lot of like Fortune 500 companies, and because it was such a small firm, I got to wear a lot of different hats. And I would say that particular piece is what really set me up for success elsewhere, because being so junior in my field, being able to wear all different hats, from being kind of more of a client service person, engaging with the clients, responding in communication, to then also working with media buyers, placing anywhere from like newspaper ads and multicultural media publications to having to do social. It really gave me various opportunities that then set me up to my second job, which I got as an advertising agency in Baltimore. That really kind of put me ahead of the game. So grateful for that.
That's fantastic. I'm going to ask Crystal to go after I just weigh in on something that Moira mentioned, and that was the wearing of multiple hats. You'll find that personality trait, Moira, probably didn't go away even when you were in a more targeted position, even at a company that wasn't small that required you. I bet you're taking on multiple responsibilities at your current role as well, which is probably your personality. Thank you for sharing that. And Crystal, ready?
Ready. So while I was in school, I worked for a little shoe store called Aldo. I worked there for a very long time. So when it came time to graduate, I had been promoted to an assistant manager, but I was really looking to kind of move up and further my career. You know, I had just graduated and I was all excited, but there wasn't a ton of opportunity. So at that point, I knew I had to start looking elsewhere. And I had to make a tough decision because at that point, I was an assistant manager, and you know, going backwards at that time, I was like, oh, I don't want to go back to just being a salesperson, but I knew in order to move forward, I had to take a step back. So I had been offered a role at Nordstrom, and Nordstrom had a management training program. And in order to go into that program, you had to be a salesperson. You couldn't go in as an assistant manager. So at that time in my life, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to take a step backwards, but I did. And it was the best thing that I could do. I took that step backwards and I gained an amazing foundation with Nordstrom in their management training program. Everything from using my skills that I learned in my retail math class at Johnson & Wales to marketing and planning events. So, I mean, I would say to all of the students that are currently out there, if there ever is a point in time in your career where there is a chance you may have to step backwards in order to move forward, I would really kind of just open your eyes to the whole possibilities and not just the focus of, oh my God, I'm going backwards. And I mean, that was really the most important thing coming out of college was, you know, kind of seeing that perspective, being like, okay, well, where can I use my skills? And Nordstrom was really where I could use my skills. And that was the step I took. And it ultimately led me forward to where I am now.
That's beautiful. Change is scary, right? I mean, even if it wasn't a step back, just moving into something that's completely foreign to you. So.
Oh, every time I start a new job or a new role, I'm sure everybody, it's always scary being the new person, regardless of what level you're at. You're like, oh my God, I'm the new person. I don't know anything. And you're all starting over again. And everyone goes through it.
And it's all cumulative. So all of the experiences over time have helped you be as successful as you are in your most current role.
For sure. Everything counts. Even at the time when you think it doesn't, even if it's something negative, something bad happened, you learn from it and you move forward. And then you have that in your toolbox. You can recover.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
You're welcome.
Lawrence, you're up next. First job, and how did it help you in your move in your career?
Thank you. First, I want to say, Crystal, thanks for sharing those pearls of wisdom, because what you said was so accurate, very, very much so. Well, for my first, I'll say this: my career trajectory did not have a straight line, right? So coming out of college, my first job was an area manager working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And I'll tell you this, you know, people like, oh, you work for a rental car company. I think I learned all aspects of operating a business in somewhat of an entrepreneur environment as a rental rep. And I say that because you're forecasting, you're projecting, you're prospecting new business, whether it's body shops, insurance companies. You're meeting face-to-face with folks, so customer service was a part of that too. And just how to run your own business, because you're managing a fleet of cars, right? And you got to make sure your fleet is managed, inventory and all that stuff. I learned so much in that role. Following that, me being an international business major, I wanted to get more industry experience. So I decided to latch on with global finance companies. So I worked for State Street Corporation, which is a custodian bank out of Boston for many years. Worked as a lending, global securities lending manager for them. Wealth experience, it spoke to my international business background. But then I shifted. One thing about business, you'll hear this too, pivoting, how you pivot because in this world, you have to, pivot and adjust. So I decided to take a pivot in my career and get into the healthcare industry, where I be using all that experience and background that I had. I became a salesperson for then Kendall Healthcare, which then turned into Covidian, then now is Medtronic. So, names changes too. So that's one thing about acquisitions, is something that you guys are studying now. I went through that too. So, I think for me, the tools that were acquired along the way helped me to forge ahead in other roles. Don't sell yourself short, all right? Because as you move on into different career or look at different career paths, you are building your toolkit, your knowledge base. And that's what companies are looking for. They're looking about what knowledge can you bring to the table. And it's not so much what you've done in the past. You can be, anything. I mean, I'm working in pharmaceutical company where folks have liberal arts and history degrees, but they've managed projects and they know how to see a project through. So they became fantastic project managers. So just something to consider. And we'll talk about more of that later throughout the day.
Thank you, Lawrence. I want to pick up on something that you brought up as your first career, when you're talking about working at a rental car agency and owning a fleet of business and understanding the full life cycle. The way that you describe that, everyone should really take that to heart. And that resume that you're building, everyone, that's yours, right? You're able to demonstrate who you are and what skills you've been able to accomplish so that you can take that next step. You can say, oh, I worked for a rental car agency, or you can talk about the fleet of business that you managed and the prospective clients that you oversaw and the clients that you turned down. And you talk about your experience and how you can add value to whatever that next position is that you're looking to go for. Thank you, Lawrence. Next, I have Dylan on my screen.
Yeah, and I'm a good follow-up to Lawrence because I'm going to talk about a similar concept around, the skills you build and how it can translate. I'm probably the only person on the panel who has been at the same company since before I graduated. So I started as an intern in the finance department, and I wasn't in any kind of internship program. I was really just summer help, and they said, we need help with closing the books over during the school year if you want to stay on part-time. So really learning about how to do the basics of, just a routine financial planning function. So projecting out, hiring and expenses for our operations division, really in a junior analyst role. And then, they ended up hiring me full-time on the team. So I sort of stayed in basically the same function with a little bit more responsibilities. And I did that for about a year. And by happenstance, somebody happened to leave in our department who was supporting our advertising and marketing business. And so they kind of said, you can do it for an interim and we'll see what happens. And it became a full-time job where, I had the basics down from when I was an intern and sort of a junior analyst. And then I really got thrown into the fire supporting a marketing organization, supporting a whole bunch of different products, and really taught me how to speak, explain financial results to non-financial people, and really be a good business partner. And so that was a great experience. And just by happenstance, again, the head of the advertising business, who was my business partner, she also ran the strategy function. And about 18 months into that role, she had sort of said, maybe you should try your hand at strategy now that you sort of understand the way that all the products fit together in banking. So I went and did strategy for a year. And so if you think about, I tried to take something from each job and really keep an open mind. I think when I got into strategy, I was totally in over my head. I had no clue what I was doing, never had worked on any kind of strategy before, was really in the numbers. And in finance and particularly in banking, the numbers are really important, but it's not everything. So you start to get, a little more well-rounded of a skill set, which ultimately led me back into finance, supporting a lending group, which, is kind of hard to do when you don't have any lending experience. So I was able to kind of go in a circle, but make my rounds, supported a bunch of different functions. And, the one thing I would say in your careers is just keep an open mind. And, network with people. I think, one of the things that's great about being in a support function, so whether it be HR or finance or accounting, you get to kind of observe the business, whatever you're supporting, off from the sidelines. So you get to come up with your own perspective and see how leaders work. And then you can kind of get a sense for what you want to do, what you don't want to do, and try a bunch of things out.
Yeah, that's amazing, right? So everyone talks about, we heard wearing different hats, but Dylan really got a little deeper there too, with talking about maybe right place at the right time is part of it. But when you take on those new responsibilities, you said, I think, jumping into the fire, but people say drinking from a fire hose. Like there's a lot of sayings that go along with trying on something new that's really trying to expand your horizons. So good for you, Dylan. You know, it's really tough to take on those new roles, especially in areas that you're not necessarily super comfortable with at the onset, but it broadens you in the long run, right? So I think I have Elena next to help expand this conversation.
Absolutely. So I'm in a little bit of a unique position because I've been with the same agency since I graduated. It was my first job. And I think what you'll find in the advertising industry is that typically people move around every few years. There are a variety of reasons for that: diversified experience, salary comes into play a lot of times when people make that decision too. But in my position, I found that every time I started to feel a little stagnant or unchallenged in my current position at my current agency, a new opportunity was presented to me that kept me there. A new opportunity that was really enticing, challenging in the right ways, et cetera. And I think what I can share for that is that those opportunities came my way because of a few different things. One of them is focusing on quality of work, which I know everyone on this call, that's going to be your goal too. When you do good work, recognition follows. People want you on their team. They want you leading their business, et cetera. So I was brought onto a new account when I let my managers know, like, I kind of want a new challenge. I want to be back on a national piece of business. And they said, okay, yeah, let's do it, because they wanted to keep me there. And so they made that change for me. And that also comes from having an empowered HR team and managers that want to see you grow, who are able to do that for you. Not every company has that ability. So that's also a little bit more unique too. So that was a huge piece, focusing on doing really great work. And then when I wanted a new challenge, vocalizing that to the people who could make that happen for me. And the other piece is just raising my hand and my position too. My newest challenge that kept me in Media Storm 2 and really happy was that I got an internal email that was about a new pitch that was happening, and they didn't name the client, but they named the category, asking if anyone had any experience with it to participate in a focus group. And I said, I think that's Duolingo. And I really love Duolingo. I'm an avid user. Let me see if I can participate in this. And when I was in that focus group, I said, I love this business. Here are like some different ideas for the focus group. And they said, do you want to participate in the pitch and fly to Pittsburgh and help present it? And I said, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And then fast forward, I'm leading that piece of business for the agency. So again, I think it comes from when you demonstrate really great work and you raise your hand for things, you volunteer for things, and you want to contribute to things, new opportunities will start to follow too.
Yeah, that's good for you, Elena, with your experience at the company that you're representing. In the fact that they recognize that hard work and that great work and the volunteerism. But sometimes some folks might agree that you have to advocate for yourself as well, because sometimes it's not necessary. You're doing all this great work and it becomes just understood that you're going to do good work, but you need to sometimes raise your hand and sell yourself, right?
Absolutely. It's very true.
I have one more panelist here. That's Toni. Sorry, Toni, maybe we'll go to you first next time. That's right.
It's okay. I'm going to kind of hop on what Lawrence and Crystal said. I think they brought up some really good points from before. So my first job out of graduating was at Amica Insurance here in Rhode Island. I actually got that job from the job fairs that was held at Johnson & Wales back when things were in person before the COVID. I became an insurance adjuster for them, where I took their, they did this rotational program where you did training and then flew out to wherever they sent you. And that's where you started your job. So I went from Rhode Island to California, never left home. So I was an adjuster for them in California. And that was my first job. And I got some really great experience for them. And I learned a lot being an insurance adjuster. I didn't think I would ever take a job being an insurance adjuster from being a management, a management major here. And I learned how to problem solve. You meet clients on the road. You don't work in an office when you're an adjuster. You're on the road meeting new people. I would be in positions where I was uncomfortable. I didn't know what I was doing. So I had to think on my feet. You would go to people's houses and you would say, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do here. And you didn't have a boss right there to ask questions. So you had to learn on your feet. So I learned a lot of great problem solving. I had to think for myself. I had to time manage because I had, one job here and then across town. So you had to really think, and you had nobody to ask questions. So I learned management. So I learned how to be a manager and didn't even know it. So that really helped me for my next position right after that, which was operations manager for a gym, which again, I didn't think I was going to be a gym manager, but really, who knew, right? So I took those skills to become an operations manager where I ran a whole gym by myself with 60 people under me. So you take those skills and you take it to the next place. And then I became, I went into kind of HR, and that's where I kind of took all those skills and then became staffing. And I did staffing and recruiting for a while where you kind of took those skills on. So to Lawrence's point and Crystal's point, you just kind of keep taking those skills and learning and bringing all of those skills that you learn from school, which again, all of the great classes that we take here at Johnson & Wales, which is your HR classes and your, operations management classes and all of those great classes that you take along with everything that you bring from each of these jobs that you have. And then to Dylan's point, you gain the knowledge and you become uncomfortable with each of these jobs that you take. So you always keep your opportunities open and you bring that with you with each of these jobs that you take, and you don't close the doors either. That's something that I always say, is that don't close a door just because it's something you think you might not want to do, because then I became this, project management coach. I never thought I would do that, but I love project management. And it's just an open door that you just don't want to close just because you don't know that you do it. So that's something that I would say to all of you, is just don't close a door because you don't know that you want to do it. Just always keep opportunities open.
That's fantastic. I don't think I've ever had a panel that's as eloquent as this group is. There were no stumbles and you all just felt so natural, waxing eloquently about your experiences. And there's a couple of things, and I hope towards the end, if we have some time, there was some, I think Lawrence coined the phrase pearls of wisdom that were shared, but we talked about being uncomfortable, learning on the fly. And one thing that I think Crystal brought up specifically was, even when something is negative that's happening to you, how all of that plays part to your overall experience in making you the leader that you are. And so if we have time towards the end, I would definitely like to dig a little deeper on that, because we all get knocked down sometimes, we all make mistakes, and we're all always learning. And so those pivotal moments of that growth is something that I would like to talk about. But that said, we do have some set questions that we have to get to. And next is, and this is for anyone to answer, we don't have to have everybody, but we can if you like. How did the university help prepare you for a successful career? Some of us have already touched on this loosely, but more directly, how did the university help you prepare for a successful career?
I'll start off.
Yes.
I think for me, being an international business major, it afforded me the opportunity not only to have the foundation of a phenomenal business degree. And at the time, as I said before, when I came on in the 92-93 school year, that degree was brand new for the university. It was very much in the early stages, but just the students that were attracted to that major, the diverse backgrounds, was phenomenal. Something that I would have typically thought I would have an exposure to, but was so grateful for the fact that I was able to not only know about, see diversity in the classroom, but diversity of thought. I had a lot of students from Sweden, okay? I don't know if that's the same thing, but my class was full of students from Sweden and a lot from Japan. So it was great seeing, you know, the diversity and exposure to that. And that helped me in my career and working in an international setting and also interacting with people. There was a great class. I mean, it's, you know, you have your business classes, but there were some other classes that really, really helped me. International culture and protocol. I don't know if that's still taught, but it was awesome. You know, other classes too, you know, not strictly a finance class, psychology, great class, great class, dealing with people. So I think, you know, those other classes that are out of scope as a typical business class really help in the development aspect, because you can point to a situation that can help you in your current work life. So that helped me a lot.
I think too, that helped me, and I don't know if they're still taught, and it helped me too with some of the people that I've hired in my teams, were the resume building classes, and the interviewing classes, and some of just the basic business skills classes. I don't know if anybody else on the panel feels the same way, but those have helped me, get some of the jobs that I've had, and also coach some of the team members, because I've been kind of shocked at some of the people that I work with that don't know how to write an email, that don't even know how to write an actual email. I've had to teach some of my even older team members how to write a business email to each other. I've just been shocked myself. So it's helped me personally write just emails to people, and they're just like, wow, you write very nice, appropriate emails. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I thought that's just how everybody writes emails in a business setting. So I was like, oh, that's my school. They taught me how to do that. Or just my email, just my resumes and how I write them. I've gotten some great feedback on, and I learned that here. So I took that with me. So I really appreciated those classes that I had. And I know nobody else that I went to school with in high school or my same age group had those in their school. So I very much appreciate that from Johnson & Wales.
I completely agree with Toni. I mean, many of my friends and coworkers, writing a resume is just almost impossible to them. And they come to me, and I'm not a big writer. I mean, I'm a retail person, I'm a buying person, I'm not a writer, but they come to me for help with their resumes. And it's just so crazy to see how well Johnson & Wales prepared us to write resumes and those introduction letters, and just really having that purely business conversation. And it's super helpful. And to this day, I mean, I still rely on the things I learned about writing resumes when I'm updating my resume or applying to a new role.
Yeah, I would just add my 30 seconds. I have to plug the finance program at Johnson & Wales for having the Wall Street prep, building some of the technical skills in Excel. But outside of that, you know, I think one thing the university did really, really well that served me awesomely is just the leadership opportunities. So I feel like I was given a lot of different creative problems to solve in sort of different extracurriculars, whether it was organizing a trip, trying to get some budget from the university, or, you know, trying to set up a student managed investment fund. I think, you know, those were really creative things that they had sort of given the students to solve. When you get, you know, into the corporate world, certainly you face with a lot of different problems, and you got to be able to work collaboratively with people. And so I think, you know, just being able to work in a team and really, you know, problem solve as a group is something that, you know, technical skills are never going to get you. You kind of have to have that hands-on experience, which I think the university really allowed me to get.
Yeah, group setting is like great because you learn so many different personalities. I feel like that was a huge help at the time in class. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm paired with this person. They don't do their work. And now when that happens in real life, I know how to deal with it.
That doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't.
People at work that also might not pull their full weight. You have to figure out what to do about that. But I would also say from the advertising program that another thing that really, really prepares people well that maybe you aren't anticipating or thinking about is the ability to communicate effectively and concisely and clearly, to communicate an idea And also like how to create a PowerPoint, how to create a deck with slides that are clear, coherent, that are client ready, that look good. All of those things, you would be surprised how difficult it is to find people like that who come into the industry already knowing how to do that. That's a huge piece that gives you a head start, because so often we have to distill really complex ideas and strategies into something that's digestible, that someone can buy into and be excited about. And that can be really difficult to teach in a work setting. And it's already difficult to teach just in general, but I think that Johnson & Wales and the advertising program, just from our experience, did a really good job of that, especially programs like the advertising team, where that's the whole thing. So that's been hugely helpful, and can really be something that sets you apart.
Yeah, I'll add to that as well. Outside of just ad team, which I was also a part of and definitely agree. What attracted me to Johnson & Wales was definitely, in high school I did DECA, and Johnson & Wales has Collegiate DECA, which is under the branch of National Student Organizations. And I did it because it was definitely fun and interesting. I really enjoyed it. But looking back, it teaches you skills that's very transferable to the real world. It teaches you how to get a case study, how to look at key performance indicators, KPIs, be able to cover off on them in a very quick time frame, and something that puts you outside of your comfort zone. I think that translates into being able to speak off the cusp in client meetings, or be able to handle things that you're not able to prepare for ahead of time. And just giving that practice, I think, is immensely important, and something that a lot of people don't have experience with, and it helps prepare you for the real world.
Those are all of this feedback right here is tremendously insightful and important. And just to round it a little bit more together, the first set of questions where everybody was going around, we talked about building that cumulative experience and all of the job opportunities that you have, and how that helps you grow into the position that you're currently in and beyond. And then we were able to now distill our college experience, and we really kind of said the same thing. And if it was within classes that we experienced, that we got some great skills, so some of those ancillary services such as resume building, or just taking on additional leadership opportunities, like Dylan said. Lawrence, that international protocol class is still part of the curriculum. It made its way through the last round of cuts. So everything that you're doing here in your 4 or more years, it's all cumulative as well, and that's going to help inform what you do at Johnson & Wales and beyond. Thanks, everyone. So next question, something we all discuss as we get older is the old adage, if I knew then what I know now. The audience and I would like to hear what you would have done differently during your undergraduate years, how it might have helped you. This might be working part-time, taking different extra courses, joining clubs, anything that you wish you would have done differently.
I guess I'll go first.
I can
this
start
time.
off. Yeah, go ahead.
You can go, Dylan. You can go first.
Okay. So I'll keep it short. So 3 things. I think the first one would be just researching, what kind of jobs are out there, whether it's through your network, finding people who have jobs you think are interesting, and talking to them, seeing, how did you get there? How did you start? Because I think, particularly in finance, and I know it's across all majors, there are so many different jobs that you can end up in. And I think there's really, when you think about the job market and sort of the recruiting process, there's only a couple small sort of functions that are really marketed to people, and there's so many different opportunities. So I would say just research. There's tons of forums on the internet where you can look at what kind of jobs, reach out to people. And when you reach out to people and you network, you show a lot of initiative. So I think that's the other thing I wish I had done, was just, talk to people and get my name out there a little more. And the last thing, I think when I was in school, I was super anxious about getting a job, figuring out what I wanted to do. And so the third thing would just be to just relax and just enjoy the process, and it will work out.
I agree with you on that one, Dylan. I think for myself, there was a couple of things I would have done differently. I was a commuter. I didn't live on campus. So I was highly focused on just getting my good grades, getting, let's get all my A's and work. I worked 3 jobs, so I did all my work. You know, I went to school 2 days a week. I crammed all my classes in, and then I worked all the other days. So I didn't really participate with anything on campus. So I wish I did some clubs or I met more people. So I probably would have definitely done that because I really missed out on the college experience as far as on campus. And to Dylan's point, I was also anxious. So I was nervous all the time. If you all couldn't tell, I still am like that. So I feel like I wish I just kind of chilled out a little and didn't worry so much. Because from my experience, I still didn't do everything as perfect as I wish I did, because life isn't like that. It's not, to Lawrence's point, a trajectory of this perfect straight line. It zigzags, it goes backwards. It doesn't go the way you're going to plan it to go. So don't panic about that, because that's not what life is. So sometimes you do what you think you're going to do, and sometimes you do something totally opposite. So what I wish I would have done is taken classes that interested me just because I liked it. Johnson & Wales has classes that are fun and things that you're interested in. And maybe that's the career path you're going to go instead of what you think you're going to do. So just take them because they're fun, and they interest you. And maybe that's the career path you're going to go, and then change your major. Who cares? You know, that's what life's about. And that maybe is the direction you're going to go. And maybe I would have, been in the FBI. Like maybe I would have gone and done because I like true crime, and they have criminal justice there. And maybe that's what I would have done. So that's my advice to you is, if you like something and Johnson & Wales has it, take it, make that your elective instead of something you think, your parents want you to do, or, you thought you might've wanted to do, just do it to do it.
That's great advice. Anyone else want to join in? Elena, I see you unmuted.
I did. Yeah, because it inspired something for my answer too. I think that, Toni, I align with a lot of what you were saying too, because when I was at Johnson & Wales, I was the type of student where I wanted to do everything all at the same time. And so I packed my schedule so much, and where I was taking so many classes, but I was also doing lots of extracurriculars because I wanted to participate in everything, but I was also working part-time at the same time. And I was doing all of this and like killing myself over it, trying to do everything and be really good at everything. So much so that I ended up graduating early by accident. Like it's not necessary to do that. So my advice would be to say yes to all the things you want to say yes to. That's all really great. There's extracurriculars and programs to participate in. All of that is so, so valuable. But don't go crazy trying to think that you need to do all the coursework you need to do on top of that too. You can take 3 classes instead of 4 classes. That's okay. And think about how you want to achieve all the things you want to achieve and plot it out so that you're not overextending yourself, because it's really difficult to, well, first of all, you won't have this time back once you start working. This is a small part of your life. And so if you can relish in that moment, do that. Because it's also really hard to find that time once you're working to be able to be flexible and explore new things, because there are so many other expectations that are going to be on top.
And don't take 3 classes, guys, on this and girls on this call. We switched to semesters, all of our alumni on this panel.
It can also be really difficult to. Okay, so yes, don't take only 3. Don't do that, but don't overextend.
Yes.
Do what makes sense, but don't overextend, because it also it's going to be really difficult, I think, to teach that about yourself once you are working, to learn how to not overextend yourself. If you're doing that in college, you're going to do that in your working experience.
Point. I think we're having a little technical difficulty. So I'm going to ask Moira and Lawrence. Do you guys want to add to this wisdom sharing here?
No, I mean, well said. I mean, I couldn't agree enough. I think for me, focusing on my grades, at the time, Johnson & Wales was like, I'm sure it is today, marketing as the career university. So I was determined once I graduate, I'm gonna have this awesome career and I was not gonna be the one, not to get one, because like, you know, everyone would look at me like, what? How come, you know? But that was the pressure. But you know, in a couple of fact, I was an RA at McNulty when McNulty first opened, the brand new one downtown. So, you know, there was a lot of things happening. But for me, I can't emphasize the relationships that you build as an undergrad. You know, you never know where those relationships will take you. Okay, you know, the folks that in my group who later became, you know, entrepreneurs, CEOs, leading corporations, making the key decision makers. You never know who that's going to be in your classroom. So, you know, it's value those relationships. I wish I did it more, you know, and I've obviously established those connections today, but I wish I did it a little bit more, because you never know where that fellow Johnson & Wales alumni will be in the room, and, you know, who can seriously advocate for you because you're from Johnson & Wales and they know you. So really value your undergraduate experience.
Yeah, I would agree as well with a lot of the themes that we've covered here. Lawrence in particular, I'd resonate with that as well. Like, made connections and definitely have a strong network, but I wish I realized how valuable it could be, or like extend that network even further. It is always helpful. And I think also the other themes of just trying to cram everything all in once, like Elena had covered, I was definitely in the same camp with her. And I feel like because Johnson & Wales was a career university, and which definitely attracted me to the university, I knew what industry I wanted to be in, but to what we've been covering, I wasn't really sure my path. And so I also felt very kind of anxious, and I felt like some of my, you know, classmates kind of had this strong vision of what they wanted to do, and like, why didn't I have that vision? So I can relate to like also being anxious. And I think, you know, looking back, I would just tell myself, relax, things work out, different doors open that you don't even know about until you get into the real world. And then finally, outside, we've covered some classes like the resume builder classes, which are certainly helpful, but I would also say take into account other classes like negotiation skills. I remember attending like a class like that and being like, okay, well, we're going to be entry-level folks. We're not going to have power, but it's so valuable. And I feel like I didn't take away what I could have taken away from those types of skills, classes and seminars that they had, and I've had to learn in the industry. But now I make it a point when I like mentor people or junior people on my team, like make it a point to tell them that even if you're an entry-level person, one, it's so empowering to advocate for yourself, regardless if you get what you're trying to negotiate for, but also it's just a good skill to have. And the next time you go do it, you'll continue to keep improving. So you might not understand those classes or feel that they're as important as the resume classes of the world, but I would say it is important, and you'll come across it. So I encourage you guys to also look out for those.
Such great advice from everyone. And we are starting to get questions in the Q&A, but I kind of wanted to synthesize what we talked about here, which was goal setting. We're not saying to not set goals. It's important to have those goals in mind and always moving towards that end game. But during that journey, the journey is the most important part. The destination is your goal, but getting there is the part of going through this 4 or more, well, in Elena's case, less than 4-year experience. But there's going to be opportunities to take advantage of those, whether they're on or off campus, whether they're related to your career or your goal or not. Sometimes it's something that's just completely out of the blue that'll pop up. You want to take advantage of this time here because this is your time. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to ask Lori and Liza, how are we doing on time? Can we keep on going with the questions?
We can keep going.
Okay, great. So I think Moira kind of gave me a great segue into this next question, which was, what qualities do you look for in younger team members? So I hate to put you on the spot, Moira, but it sounded like your last response was geared towards someone that was fairly new in their position. And so what are the qualities that you're looking for that person that's maybe coming into an entry-level position?
No, definitely. So In my role now, I actually oversee a team of 23. So I very regularly interview folks, especially for entry-level jobs. I would say building the experience, like we've talked about, just it doesn't necessarily, of course, internships are great and very much encourage you to get those kind of positions, but also the clubs that we've been talking about, just different classes. Like if you can eloquently speak to like just how it relates and how you've learned a skill from that, that's what I look for. And then also I would say my big thing is I just look for someone that's flexible and being able to be nimble, right? So you don't have to have all the answers. We certainly don't expect you to coming into an entry-level position, but if you can show me that you're willing to learn and willing to be flexible and kind of move with the way that the tasks come through or maybe the team changes happening, that's certainly something that can't be always taught. So just coming in with that kind of experience and open-mindedness is important.
Great
just to
advice.
tag on to what Moira said, I agree. The flexibility I feel like is just so key. And being in the retail space, I encounter a lot of people who come in and the thought is it's all pretty product. It's all, it's all just making things look nice. And behind it, there's a lot more behind it than what people initially think of. So when I'm interviewing a student, it's really the flexibility. Like, can you come in and kind of jump from here or there, or, can you pick up an Excel sheet? Can you, do a little merchandising or whatever it is, it's just really being open and just being flexible and kind of go with the flow, especially being early on in your career. I think that's the biggest piece of advice I could give is just continuing to be open. And I know everyone, like we just said, has a specific goal, but if you just kind of open that window, because your goal may be one point, but again, there's other ways to get there, and you may come in from the back end, you may come in from the front, but kind of just open that view and you'll eventually get there.
That's fantastic advice. Little plug for myself. I went into my undergraduate program in a pre-med school and ended up moving into a business program. So keep that open mind. You might be in business now, and maybe who mentioned criminal justice? I can't remember who it was, but okay, Toni did. And you know what? If that's your path, that's your path. You know what? Move with it. Go and do what you find your path to be. Set those goals, but be flexible. Dylan, I got you off mute. Do you have anything to add to this? What do you look for in a new employee?
Sure. Yeah, so I think, the willingness to learn, I think come up a couple times already, but I would even take it a little step further. Just being hungry, willing to do anything, I think, as Crystal was sort of outlining. And then, just being coachable and personable, good communicator. So, ask a lot of questions. That's a big one. Try and set yourself apart, but, at the same time, you got to kind of be ready to think independently. And sort of do things on your own. And so, if you don't know exactly what you're trying to do, you got to give it your best shot, and be happy to, explain what you did, why you did it that way. But be ready for feedback and coaching and, and help and try and remember when you get coaching, just try and keep that stuff in the back of your head to demonstrate to people that, if I tell you how to do something one time, you're going to remember how to do it. And that, you're going to come if you have questions of something that, you haven't been shown before. So just coachability, taking feedback well, and being a good communicator.
To Dylan's point, I always tell everyone on my team, be a why child. Ask as many questions. There's no such thing as too many questions. It's definitely adding on to that advice.
Yeah, I always told my newer employees,
especially when you're a new employee, ask all the questions.
Yes,
Ding you
that's your
questions.
Tell them to be a sponge. This is your job, to learn as much as you can. You're going to pay it forward to the next new employee once they're on. You're going to be their mentor and their coach. Elena, I saw you jump off for a second, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, in addition to coachability, I think, Dylan, you touched on this coachability, but then also that you're showing progress in what you're being coached on. I want to see that someone has a demonstrated ability and being able to apply the things that they've learned the next time they do it, and that they're evolving, and that they're also just proactive too, because so often, at least in advertising, there are so many times when we just need someone to jump on something. And if you have been shown it once before, the second time it comes around, just jump on it and do it without having to be asked, because that goes so far. So I think if you can demonstrate that in yourself in your interview process about how you've done that in the past, and also I want to also put a pin into like being able to communicate in your interview too, and do so confidently and clearly and have examples. There are a lot of interviews we see that it's a struggle for a lot of new hires to be able to do that. So if you can practice that for yourself, have your talking points ready, have your examples ready, it goes so far.
I think another thing too is to come up with solve a problem. So it's one thing to, have an issue or come to your manager with, hey, I have a problem, but how would you solve it? I think that's a big thing for me. When I have somebody that I hire, or what I'm looking for is, oh, I have a problem. Well, how would you solve it? I'm not looking for somebody to come to me and have me solve it for you. I really look for that initiative from somebody. So that's huge that I look for in somebody that I'm hiring is, it's great that you have something that you're coming to me with, but what are you going to do about it? So I'm looking for that initiative as well.
That's great advice. And let me add to that, Toni. Even if what you're going to do, your suggested solution isn't ultimately what happens, it is so much better than coming with a laundry list of issues and concerns you have without having. And if I were in this situation, here's what I would do. That's critical to show that you're hungry for that growth. All right, as someone mentioned, coachability, and I'm wrapping it back to this theme of negativity, which sounds awful, but one piece of advice that I would like to share with this panel, who has already absolutely probably experienced this, and more importantly for the students that are up and coming, where you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be things that you thought you were doing the right thing, and you're moving in a direction that doesn't necessarily align with what maybe your supervisor or with what the company philosophy is. It's going to happen, and you're going to be taken aside and you're going to be coached. That's a polite way, a more kind way of saying that you're going to be perhaps reprimanded. Be open-minded during those sessions. And if you have to learn from it, own it. Don't be defensive. Don't point and say, well, I was following this or this other. Don't ever do that. Just understand, take that feedback. And if it is negative in the moment, it's going to be hard to do that, but it is going to add so much value to you as a person within that organization and beyond, because you can then, when someone asks about an experience that you had where you wish you would have done something differently, you can go back to that coaching session and use that exact example to recognize that you've grown from that person that you were. So even when it's something negative, it's going to add something exceptionally positive to your overall resume and brand. I have been prompted to go to the Q&A. It looks like we have quite a few great questions here. There is something in the chat as well. I'm not really sure if that's a question. Let me see. Let's see. I graduated in 2000 with a degree in food service management. My career led me towards sales, then marketing. I returned to Johnson Wales Online in 2017. That type of option is really nice to know. It exists for careers that take you in different directions. Okay, I was just reading that. It didn't seem like a question, but that's okay. That is absolutely an option for folks that are looking to pivot, graduating with a degree in culinary arts and then pivoting into a more hospitality or business focus. That's definitely something that Johnson & Wales offers. Let me see. Maricelli Valentine, what is your favorite company that you worked for? And then followed up with, I noticed most all of you have bachelor's degrees. Did you ever reach a time that you needed a master's degree, or having your bachelor's degree was always enough for the job? So two-part question there. What's the favorite company? And did you ever find it necessary to move on to get a master's degree in order to be successful in that next role?
I'll start off with that one. Great question, by the way. The favorite company that so far in my career, it has to be the one I'm with right now.
Yeah.
Only because it's allowing me to bring all the experience that I've acquired up to this point And now I have a voice and I have a seat at the table to affect change. Huge, huge. If you're that person in a company that can be a change maker or someone who can be an innovator or bring something new to the table and thinking outside the box, and people are receptive to that, it's an awesome working environment. Plus, I have a very supportive manager and management team who not only support me within the office, but outside the office as well, which is a good thing, because one thing you'll have to learn in working in the real world is about work-life balance, right? And it's good to have management to support that. Now, as for me, I have my bachelor's degree from Johnson & Wales, of course, but I got a couple of years of work experience, and I was able to latch on with State Street Corporation, who actually paid for my master's degree from Boston University. So another thing, if you latch on with a company that has an awesome tuition reimbursement program or is willing to pay full boat for you, take advantage of it early. I can't emphasize that enough. You got to learn how to maneuver that and see how things work. So obviously look at HR policy and stuff like that. But if you can get with a company that will do that, do it. Do it, do it, do it. You're young, take advantage of it. So that would be my advice.
I guess I will go next, since I see that a lot of people have their masters here. So my favorite company, I'll go with Lawrence, is the one I'm with now, which is IGT. A lot of the same reasons they allowed me to move up in my career, and give me, again, the same things that Lawrence said, a voice to do what it is that I do. I have a great manager that supports me. But the difference that I have is I actually followed my manager here. So it's funny because I love my manager, so I followed her. So I don't know if she left, if I would follow her. But again, it's all in who you work with. That's my advice, is you have to love what you do, love who you work for, work-life balance. I don't know if I'd follow her to the moon and back. She supports me in and out of work. I love what I do. We do a lot of great things where we are. So again, I don't know, I'd fight for her. She fights for me. It's a great thing that we have going on, and we make a lot of changes. I don't have my master's, but again, to Lawrence's point, if your company pays for it, and they advocate for it, absolutely take advantage of it. I don't know that I wouldn't. If they paid, if they said, hey, we want you to get your master's, I'd probably take advantage of it. With what I do for project management, they're paying for me to get my PMP, which is a project management certificate. I'm going for that. So again, it's all in what you do, and what your career needs for, certificates or masters, or if you need your doctorate. So absolutely do what your career and what your company pays for or needs, is my advice to you guys.
Okay, let me jump to the next question. Thank you, everyone. We are running short on time, so I'm sorry I'm moving this along too quickly. And I see my next question is, what are some techniques, or how you handle people who don't pull their own weight? This is a great add-on to, we talked about not liking to do group projects, and folks don't pull their own weight, and it carries its way into the real world. So let's see, what techniques do you have to try to entice those people who aren't pulling their own weight? No one wants to spill tea on their fellow coworkers.
Entice them? I mean, are we trying to get an A? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to? I think we're all in this together. But I mean, listen, okay, we're talking about group dynamics, right? So not everything is gonna be smooth. It's just not. You're gonna have a person on your team who's just problematic, just to be problematic. And how you manage that is so important, because at the end of the day, it's nothing personal. It's really not personal. The goal is to get the project done, and to get it done as effectively and as efficiently as possible. So you one thing about working in groups if you have to have a sit down conversation with that said individual away from the group, you know, do that. You don't have to be, you know, all confrontational, but at the same time, like, you know, let's look at the big picture here. You know, we're all trying to succeed. We all win, you know? So have those conversations. Don't be afraid to have those conversations, because in essence, you're not only advocating for yourself, but also this is a skill. This is a skill set that you are acquiring, people skills, how you deal in difficult situations.
Yes.
So use that as an opportunity. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like you're as strong as your weakest link, you know, that's what they say. So what are you going to do when you're in that situation? You can either sit back and let this person potentially tank your project that you're working on, or you can overcome and you do what you need to do. Especially, I mean, when you're at work, there's no professor to go to and be like, help, so-and-so's not doing their work. So really, I mean, you just need to figure it out. And, you know, like Lauren said, really learning to have those difficult conversations when you're younger makes it that much easier when you're actually in the real world and in the workplace. So I would say, I know I was part of a group project that was terrible. I had a terrible experience. And, you know, at that point in time now, when I look back, I wish we would have sat this person down and had the conversation before we went to presentation. And I learned from it. So now I'm not afraid to have those difficult conversations with the person who's not potentially pulling their weight. And as you can probably tell by my personality, everyone has different personalities, and I accept you for who you are. And some people just are less motivated than others, and you just really have to take them for what they are. You cannot make them be you. And you just need to kind of have that conversation that meets in the middle that you can actually like get through to them.
We all have goals. We just need to focus on what the goal is. And if they have a different work ethic or mentality, we just need to bring them along. I'm going to jump on to the next question. Thank you. That was great advice. And this next question is around work-life balance. And what's your advice for students who are taking many classes and they're working? What's a motivator? What's some advice? And I do think that this is about work-life balance. I'm going to be the professor in the class. I'm going to call on someone. Elena.
Sure. I think that it can be difficult because if you're working at the same time as taking classes, there's probably a very good reason why you're working part-time while you're taking those classes. So it's something you won't be able to avoid. You have bills, et cetera, you have to pay for things. I think that what helped me in that same situation is that I kept trying to go back to what my why was. Why am I working so hard to do this? It's because I want a career in this particular industry. And so I know I need to take these classes in order to do it. These organizations and clubs are what will help get me there too. How do I spend my time when I'm not working as well as possible to help reach that goal? I'll have to work while I'm in school. That's just a given. But what can I do with the time when I'm not working? And also when I am working, is there a job I can do that pays me better so that I can have to work less, and also that maybe applies to my field that I want to get a career in as well, to help maximize that time while I'm working too. And what that meant for me was that I found an internship with Delta Dental that came via one of the professors in the advertising program that paid a lot better than my retail job that I was working at the time. And it was in their corporate communications department. And so I got marketing experience from that too. So I could leave one job, take another. That was an internship that paid double what the retail job did and gave me experience. And so I think I kept being focused on why am I working so hard to stay motivated and also make the best of what could be a difficult work-life balance that'd be hard to achieve.
It's hard, right? There's no, especially when you're so busy, and we're all always so busy to do this and to take the other advice that we gave earlier, which was go to the football game, right? Take advantage of the other things that are ancillary to your education and your other responsibilities. It's hard, right? And just be there, have a network that you can reach out to, but definitely know your why. That's a great set of advice. Like, know your purpose. Why are you here? Set your goals. I'm going to ask Liza and Lori, how are we doing on time? Do I have time for another question?
Yes, we have time for one more.
Okay. Not looking at all of the panel. There's a lot in here. And I guess to everyone that didn't have their question answered directly on this panel, I am sure that there's a way that we can get these questions answered to you. And so just hang on tight and we will get the questions answered to you in due time. I am going to jump to one that's very real for most of us here, whether in school or at home with kids or trying to work. What are some tips you could give us, especially in this time with remote learning, and to try to stay on top of what we are learning? I know I've had a really hard time in learning and being engaged in class because it's mostly just PowerPoints and nothing hands-on like it would be in the classroom. So I guess, how are you getting through this past year? Like, what's some advice you can provide to us?
Yeah, I can weigh in here. So I can't weigh in too much on remote learning, but being remote for a long time, I think the biggest thing for me is routine. I think a lot of us, in the March, April timeframe, it was great waking up a little later, rolling out of bed in sweatpants and hopping on your computer and getting to work. But I think after a couple months of that or a couple weeks of it, depending on how ambitious you are or how much it got to your head, getting out of bed, taking a shower, getting dressed, trying to find a place to work that's, maybe not right in your bedroom if you can afford that luxury. But I think routine for me has just been tremendous. We're exercising, anything like that, where, you can just get a definitive start to your day, end to your day. That way you get in the right mindset at the right time to be able to be productive. That's what I would say.
I would say for me, I get where you're coming from with like the PowerPoints, and it can get very mundane and you're doing the same thing over and over. For me, in order to keep myself motivated and to get through what I need to it's gonna sound crazy, I just make a list, so then I can at least like see what I checked off that I actually did something. So I usually start with my day, like what are the few things that I want to or that I need to achieve today. And even for you guys as students, like if you're learning a certain course or there's a certain thing you want to learn about, kind of just make a list, and then at least you can look back and say, okay, I completed these one or two things, and it gives you a sense of accomplishment, and then you're kind of you're staying on track rather than kind of just letting the day go by.
That's great advice. Keep focused on, so bring it back to the classroom. You have a syllabus, which is very standard and basic, right? And you know what the goals are of the course at least, and maybe that is what becomes part of your list, right? What am I learning towards this? And if you can finally end up checking one of those boxes off, that's going to feel really empowering. I do want to say that our leadership team here, they said that if there was a question that wasn't answered, they'll be in touch with everybody later this week with the answer. I know that there was some targeted questions. I saw one that I didn't get to that was very specific to Crystal. And so Crystal, they may be in touch with you to respond to that question. And I am going to thank everyone again for joining us in this overall session. I know that there are additional sessions going on today, and I look forward to seeing everyone throughout the rest of the day. And again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us. Lori and Liza, we've got to be getting close to wrap up time.
Yes, you can go ahead and wrap up, and then if the panelists can just stay on the line afterwards, that'd be great.
Excellent. Okay. And I know we're a couple minutes past where we thought we would be, but that's okay. Thank you for all the alumni for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. And you're just a wealth of knowledge, and the experiences you shared are not only inspiring, they're much appreciated. And please remain connected with us. We're proud of you. We're proud of your experience. We're proud of everything that you shared with us. And this is going to be knowledge that we just continue to pay forward to the students that are online today. Students, hopefully you found this information insightful and helpful. We know that all the questions didn't get answered, and perhaps there's stuff that you did hear that wasn't even a question that you articulated. So hopefully you're able to get a lot out of this today and take some advice to help you succeed through the rest of your education here and then beyond in your career. And this concludes today's session. And although virtual presentation doesn't lend itself for post-event mingling, feel free to connect with us virtually and to continue the conversation and expand that network. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.